This is a Sweat Equity podcast coming to you from the Toco Works office in a blistering cold Ybor City. We're trying this out on Facebook Live with a Mevo camera right now. So I heard it on a comedian's podcast. It's kind of cool. It's about $500 video camera that'll stream live, and it'll come to you you can do it like Wi-Fi style. So I have it on my phone. I can see like old school, if we're filming something like a movie, you'd have a video village where you could see all the cuts of what you just shot. I can see in live time what it looks like. I didn't frame it correctly, but we're just trying it out. Okay? Sitting here with me is now a repeat guest, I should say. And we gotta do a mulligan since the last podcast he was on. His mic was off for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. No worries, because I talk a lot, and so I filled a lot of the air. Let's give it up for the professional, Mr. Dan Whalen.
You need to patent that term.
Professional?
Yes. It's just genius.
Well, I mean, you're the CE bro, if anything. A lot of wordplay.
Keep the puns coming. It is Friday, and I need them to carry me through the weekend.
If it wasn't so early in the morning, I could probably do a lot of them.
This is early for us.
I'm not really funny. There's a Jeff Ross quote, like, I'm not funny before 1 o'clock kind of thing.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Well, you didn't have to hurt my feelings.
Been a little disappointed this morning.
So we wanted to do this one as like, you want to start your own podcast.
It's going to happen.
Okay. Well, so that's part number one, right? Let's talk about our generation, and I count my generation and yours. I'm 32, you're 28. 29.
Don't age me.
Round up. People get credit before they do the thing they're actually going to do. Like I'm going to run a marathon. Everyone's like, oh, let's buy some shots. You didn't do anything. You just said you're going to do it.
Right.
Now saying it out there to keep accountable, I'm all for it.
Sure.
But like just announcing you're going to do something and then never following up. It's kind of like, I feel like that's how Trump is. Like he's going to say he's going to do a bunch of shit and he hasn't really been doing it. He's just been scaring the shit out of everybody. Like he said so many things he's going to do and then he hasn't done anything. Like on that list, he's done
scaring the shit out of me.
Right. But I mean but if you really take a look at what he's done, it's like 1/18 of what he said, all the things he's going to do.
Well, I try to ignore TV as much as I can, unless wrestling's on.
Oh, well, I would.
In which case, how can you ignore that?
If I was 11, I'd swoop right in with some WrestleMania stuff.
Well, I mean, with your few month old, I'm sure. What do you got on the TV?
Like,
yes, I know.
Did you see John Cena propose to his girlfriend? Oh my God!
See, how do you know this?
Because it's on my social feed. Because I follow so many comedians on Facebook and Twitter. That's like, it's comic book movies and it's
WWE. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, what was I gonna say? All right. So so you're gonna start a podcast. Do you know when?
Do I know when?
Yeah.
ETA?
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere from the next 1 to 90 days. Somewhere in between there.
So I always say that's the thing, too. Like, you got to give yourself, like,
a hard date.
Yeah, because you'll never do it.
Sure.
Right? Just like running the marathon. It's like, which one are you going to run? Like, I don't have one yet. It's like, you'll never do it.
That's a busy month. Let's go May 1st.
Okay, already making
decisions.
Already making concessions.
Flying off the shelves.
Okay, already negotiating.
Absolutely.
And so
I'm negotiating with you.
So we're gonna do what we wanted to do is kind of like have this as how to do it on the tech side, and then on the creative side, kind of talk about that too. I guess we'll start creative because you always got to start, not to sound like Simon Sinek, but you got to start with why, right? Why do you want to start a podcast?
To start with the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
You always you need a theme. Either, I'll give you a minute to think. I always tell people you should do one something you're passionate about, right?
Sure.
So I like college football. We did a college football podcast. We've been doing it for 5 years called The Triple Option. Go on iTunes, give it a 5-star, rate and review, share it with a friend, subscribe. And I also saw that there wasn't any good college football podcasts when we did it. So I was like, we're hitting a niche. There's a fan base that we can grow. And I was talking about college football for an hour with my friends, Tommy and Armin, and at the time, my buddy Ryan, about football anyway. So it was like, I'm already doing an hour.
You're putting in the work.
So it's like, this is
for
just
no credit.
So this is just more of like a formal conversation where we're not going to look at our phones, obsessively the whole time while we're talking.
Oh boy. Phone's going off.
And then the why part is interesting because it's like, all right, so there's a lot out there too. So the barrier to entry is very low.
Super low.
But I'm always interested in like why people want to start a podcast. And if it's for marketing reasons, I don't really think it'll ever work.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it needs to be pure.
Right.
A way. I think it can, but you usually have to spend a lot of money to make that work in a marketing sense.
There are better ways to do that.
Well, like I have law firms that have hit me up, like, can we figure out how you can produce a podcast for us as content? And I'm like, yeah, well, if you wanted to do a podcast in the beginning and then use it, I think it'll work. Otherwise, it's going to be like pushing rope. Whiskey dick.
Something along those lines.
That will be my album. Whenever I do a comedy album, it's going to be called Pushing Rope, I think. Whiskey dick stories.
As in italics, very low.
Yeah, whiskey
big,
dick.
Big font of pushing rope. I
don't know. I got to think about it. I got to have my face on there, I think, because your thumbnail's so small. Anyway, that'll kind of call back to when we're talking album art, because you got to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is critical.
Yeah. You just need to make sure it's easy to
Yours
understand.
Yours is fancy. I like the font.
It's Bebes Nue or whatever you say.
Mm-hmm.
However you say
yep.
it. I just
Not what I thought, but all right.
I wanted to go real simple, and it's our secondary font for our company, so it kind of all matches back. But all right,
I'm gonna need a brand style guide copy from you.
We can do that.
Cool.
So you wanna what do you want to do? Now I'll let you answer the question I posed 5 minutes ago.
I'm definitely passionate about leadership and all things associated with that. And so more so that's a way for, because I have previous employees of mine, because I've worked all over the country in different settings, but there's a lot of employees of mine that hit me up from time to time, and we talk, and ends up getting overtime as far as being on the phone and whatnot, as far as what we can cover. And so it would be nice to give back to them for all the hard work that they put in while they were members of my team,
mm-hmm.
and produce some content to them weekly that they could use, and it would be relatable, I think, rather than just picking a random podcast because it's coming from me, someone that I can kind of speak that language.
So you also see it as growth for yourself too.
Hugely, yeah, absolutely. Which is not a word, but we're going to use it today.
Bigly.
More bigly. It's extremely bigly for my personal development, which is also a huge passion of mine. So it will kind of harbor along both, which I think kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I've learned a lot by doing this podcast. And there's a lot of people I would never sit down for an hour and talk to specifically about something or them.
Right.
Or I would have never met, there's a PR firm that hooked us up with a bunch of their clients at one point, and did a run of just talking to a lot of female CEOs. And it was like, this is kind of cool. This is like, why else would I ever talk to an office company that's all about office productivity?
Right.
And for my office, you got to go back in the episode list to look for it. But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is awesome. I would have never heard a lot of these stories from people I've known for a long time too. So, we've gotten to know each other better for you wanting to be interested in this and what's going on. So I'm happy for you to use this studio, even though it is an expensive setup here.
I can see that. We're talking a few $100s worth.
Well, I mean,
Hold on, I don't want to let everybody know, some of the,
well,
the financials.
It's live, so
It's cool.
people can see it.
Damn.
No, I will build a studio. How about that? I'll make you that 90-day kind of pledge. I will
The 90-day challenge.
I will build the real studio.
Toco Works
Mm-hmm.
V College Hunks Tampa.
It needs to be used. Well, this room needs to be used for the podcast studio and a conference room for clients. So I had to figure out this 15 by 10 probably.
That's generous.
15 this way?
Hmm?
No? 12?
It's like, I don't even know. I'm not a contractor.
Oh, okay.
All right. So
What you do walk in houses and look at the square footage, right?
I don't walk in there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Not
Okay.
all the time. Sometimes.
Okay. You do walk in some places, right?
I walk into a home
And guess
every day.
when you get in that home buy mode, then everything's in square footage, so it'll just stick in your brain.
Right.
Anyway,
It's more than metrics.
so the why part in the show theme you got down.
Somewhat. But I do know the why for sure. And I think the reality is when you're intentional about growing and, pushing yourself and trying to continually learn all the time, and you've got all these resources available now with all the books and the podcasts and, just people with their experiences, you tend to just bank so much crap that ends up getting buried in your subconscious that you don't use for a while until it's brought back to the forefront. So I think having some of those conversations and reaching for some of those topics again, I'll in turn solidify some of that stuff that may not have been part of my everyday repertoire, for lack of a better word, in terms of just managing, leading, operating.
So I'll say it like this. So an example for you for that is like you're driving around and you're kind of listening to music and the shower thoughts.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But those shower thoughts, now you might be using that time to think about the next podcast.
Right.
That's how I kind of break it out a little bit. Like I have things on the horizon, and then sometimes my free thought time or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Or you're at night just kind of winding down. You're like, oh, this would be a good idea. Or, oh, I want to read up on this.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of what you're getting to? Like
some, but then also the fact that, if I'm driving to work and I'm listening to something like a podcast, whatever the message is, whatever the topic is, as long as I'm engaged in, actively listening, that some form of that topic ends up coming out in my daily conversation,
Right.
with one of my employees or something like that.
oh, yeah, and then you'll earmark it or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Plus that's like we've talked about a lot about like scaling your business, no matter what, just generally philosophically. And it's like keep that playbook. Human capital is the hardest part. And then keep that playbook because then you have that ready to go. And then you duplicate that.
Exactly.
Or keep refining it. Or
No,
both.
Always refine.
Right. Always refine. Try to think of new ways. But like, yeah, it's weird. It'll put you in that context of like, it's all right. For the marathon example, it's like, okay, I'm training for a marathon.
Is this a dream of yours?
No, but
Have you ran a marathon?
I did a half.
Better than mine.
It's because I hate it, so I did it. That's kind of the thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I hate jogging. It sucks. I was just using
I believe it's yogging.
I was just using
I
it
think it's a soft J.
because I'll just yep. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna go with you on movie quote highway. But
I'm sorry.
But what I'm saying is, see, you'll learn how to be funny without movie quotes. That'll be big.
It's
Slam,
like one of those.
dun-dun.
It's one of those things. It's very hard to avoid. It's like filler words.
Oh, I know. I grew up quoting movies all the time, but then
It's not original. I know.
right. Then yeah,
You have no credibility.
yeah. You got
Get some for the memory and for
the.
the enunciation.
So like, I was using the marathon example. Put in whatever goal you want to do personally, just because you have to be thoughtful about. We were talking about this right before we started. Like eating healthy is about like kind of being thoughtful. Like you have to plan your meals a little bit. The reason I'm dad bod is so you have stuff in Tupperware. If people
The
are watching
vegetables
live.
aren't eaten yet.
But you had to like plan that out, even if it was 5 minutes before you left. my brain is so impulsive about food. I just eat for survival most of the time, and that's not going to work because I got dad bod. So my goal is get
It's
rid of
in
that.
now though.
It's not. You can't put a bunch of listicles out there that say dad bod's a thing, and then it becomes a thing. It's like when Dove body
the problem is once
commercials-
it became a thing, that's when it stopped being cool.
right, like the man bun. That was never cool.
That was never cool. I'm sorry.
Except when I do it.
That's not often though.
No, I look like a Japanese warrior, samurai.
Well, you wear it high.
Yeah, I wear it high.
Yeah.
For power.
It's raw power.
Yeah, people know what's going on. It's like Tom Cruise, Last Samurai.
Setting the tone.
So like you have the theme, and you'll be thinking. It'll help you think about. You just say generally, it's a better thing for you to do. Like my thing is like, even if I was talking to 10 people on this podcast, it's still kind of worth it because it makes that context to everything you're doing kind of like, oh, it makes you take a step back and go, oh, this would be good to talk about on the podcast kind of thing.
That's got to happen all the time.
Yeah. And that's why I told you I'm obsessed with Evernote because it's like, I don't have a good memory, so I have to write everything down and be like, ooh, this might be good. This might be good for blog content.
I'm
Whatever.
savoring my memory for as long as I can.
Yeah.
I know it's going to go soon.
Well, you can work on that too. But
True.
so what kind of, all right, so now we've got the theme.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of style? You going to do interview style? You going to do Bill Burr solo? You going to do have some bits, like a radio kind of show?
That's not perfected yet,
Yeah.
but the entertainment factor is a must.
Okay.
So there has to be it's got to stay light, but I don't want to be preachy, because I'm aware of all that I don't know. I try to go with the whole Socrates approach with the intellectual humility.
Yeah.
And be aware that I know nothing. Even what I do know, it's not anything. So continually asking a lot of questions and not really trying to force a viewpoint or an opinion too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Throw stuff out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Force curiosity.
Right.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it'll also make you self-aware of like how you do sound. Yeah. I'm sharing it as we're doing it.
Good.
I want people to see this pilot of a Mevo camera. But it will make you like, in a weird way, kind of like self-indulgent in a good way, I'd say. Like, because it's going to make you think like, oh, this is how I'm presenting myself to an audience.
Right.
And you're going to think about that a lot, which also helps you whenever you're doing any public speaking or any meetings.
Which, again,
you're
also
you're
huge.
good at that, though, so it's not...
Well, I could put on a comedy show at BNI for 30 seconds a week.
That's hard. I don't do it, so...
It's more for the people.
Yeah, you're for the people.
It's not for me.
Yeah, you're like a politician.
They know me already.
Right. So what's the style going to be? Other than is it interview based?
I'm just figuring out exactly which route I want to go in terms of reaching for guests.
Yeah, that's I'm going to ask all these questions. It
So we'll probably start with you.
Yeah, I'll pop that cherry.
I'm going to need you to do a comedy show the night before.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it after one. I'll be all jacked up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
May 1st, 11:59 p.m. Fresh off the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Hammered.
Okay. I'll Uber over here.
Thank you.
Hopefully I could do the Tampa Improv down the street.
That's what I'm banking on.
So, all right. So we've got style. We'll figure that out.
So we cover our why.
Mm-hmm. Your what?
What, why?
Mm-hmm.
What, topic, niche,
Mm-hmm.
all one. Why, style.
Mm-hmm. What tone? What about
tone?
Yeah.
So that's what I was alluding to in terms of not being too over the top. Be careful with my statements. Be careful with how definitive they are. Not the end all be all. This is how it is, and just force the listeners to think about things a different way.
Yeah. That podcasts are just a really
What is anything
It's
anyway?
like a diamond conversation. It's like it's kind of condensed. It's formal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 20 or 30% more of yourself usually, because people are aware you're on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you on the interview side, the thing that's a bitch is booking people.
Sure.
So and the video style is good. Like if you have to do it via Skype, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to give them the preamble. Like it's gonna be kind of like, I'm gonna talk a lot, you're gonna talk a lot. I'm gonna talk, because it has that space. So if you try to have like a fluid dialogue,
Sure,
it'll just be like you'd be talking over each other because of the delay.
I would think you honestly want the guests to talk more.
Yeah, and you can. So when I do the video ones, I kind of let people almost like like you're fishing, you let the fish go, then you reel it back.
Right.
I kind of let it.
Let the awkward silence dictate what's about to happen.
No, you can hear it. You could close your eyes if you had to. You can hear when they're gonna run out of steam, and then you pick up. So it's that improv kind of game of like, okay, I talk over people in person, so I got to work on that. But my ADD kicks in. I'm like, oh, this is good. I gotta say it right now.
It's endearing.
And then
it's your character.
And then remember to slow down. Oh, I do get pumped about, business ideas.
Online ads.
When you said you're doing this, I was like, we got to do a pod about a pod.
We got to do a pod about pods.
Pod about pod. That's my Seinfeld.
Eliminate as much background noise as possible.
Yeah. There you go. Turn the phones off. Those little rules.
Take your shaker bottles elsewhere.
Get the book. When you book someone, get all their info, because you're gonna have to get it anyway, and then you scramble to get all that info later.
Preparation's probably key. How much time do you prep other than bad example?
15 minutes.
15 seconds.
And most of that's just setting up everything.
Right. So there's no mental preparation going into it.
So I was telling my friends that were in here on Sunday that were looking to start theirs, I was like, I wanted this podcast to not be time consuming either. The beauty of this is that it takes me a few minutes to technically set it up. I put the mixer in, turn on the mixer, plug it in, put on GarageBand, and then we can let it rip. And I want it to be that way, kind of a little bit guerrilla style, a little bit kind of. I think when you do stand up, you can get away with it being a little bit more informal, because that's how most of the comedian podcasts are. The other side of
that's comedy. It's not formal.
Yeah, but no, some guys are polished, but I'm saying like Radiolab is like a produced. If you've ever listened to Radiolab, it's like really well produced. The episode's like scheduled to publish like 3 months ahead of time, kind of thing. Like it's like a TV
like an editorial.
Show. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's one of the best ones out there. But all right, so I told him, I was like 3 hours a week. That's kind of how I slot it. Give an hour for prep. Not really.
But then you have time left over.
Yeah.
You've already budgeted for it.
Right. Give an hour for the interview, which more or less goes over. And then give about 45 minutes an hour for, all right, upload it to a hosting site. We'll get to that in a second. Then create the episode description. Put an image. I like doing an image with every episode.
Right.
So I try to have a template that I could just pop in a picture.
You've got that girthy photo.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep messing with it though. I can't find I can't find the exact template yet, but I will one day.
You're close.
I'm
knocking
close.
on the door.
And then pushing it out and marketing it.
Yep.
So I'm real quick. It takes me about 45 minutes to do all that, to like make a blog post, get it up, get the image, description.
Start pushing on social media.
Yeah, and then push on social media. If you're smart, which I will do next week because Friday's a bad day to do it, but have an email blast go out.
Now, with someone attempting to gain listeners, is it smart to run an ad or to just simply post?
Who's going to advertise? So
good question.
So there's hosting sites. You record the audio, right? I'll try to explain this as easy as I can, because when I talk about hosting stuff, people get confused with website stuff, all that. So
#nerdlife.
Yeah, you need a place that houses the audio online. So there's a few options you've got. You have SoundCloud, a lot of people like. I don't love. Podomatic, which is okay. Podbean, and then I use Libsyn, which is like Liberated Syndication, Libsyn, and I only used it. It's not the best user friendly one, but the only reason I use it is because the big dogs use it. And I think once you get up to about 20,000 subscribers, they'll start hooking you up, or listeners. They'll start helping you get advertisers. So all the big guys use Libsyn, and that's pretty much the only reason I use it. It's about $20-$30 a month, I think, to host. And then most people go the SoundCloud route because it's free.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if SoundCloud interjects ads. I know there's a lot of hosting sites that do that because nothing's free. Right? So, and then it just depends on the bandwidth. You can up that hosting cost per bandwidth, but you gotta crack like 10,000 before you gotta really worry about that probably.
Right.
And then my thing is we talk about this a lot with content. If we're doing this, right, we should be doing video.
Right.
Because let the user digest it in the way they want to watch it, have it on the background. The video side's a little tougher because we have to make this a little bit better of a set and frame it.
And
correctly.
we're not the most attractive people in the
Whoa,
world.
whoa!
So.
Now you're just
Listen.
You're
I'm
hurting
speaking.
yourself.
No. You have these gorgeous locks.
Oh yeah,
flowing down to the
a
shoulders,
chin that could cut glass, bro.
Hercules' younger brother.
Nicolas Cage Con Air. That's all you need.
You definitely have some Nick Cage going on.
Oh, put the bunny back in the box.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness,
boy. Oh,
we're getting
boy.
ahead of ourselves.
That's a movie quote. All right, so you have to have the hosting site, and I always say try to put it through a website. So if you do want to have ads, display ads
Right.
on there and make a little bit of money back eventually,
Right.
that you can do it that way. Plus, it's a better way to engage with people that you have something that's not on social media, in case they want to connect with you, but they're not on Facebook.
Sure.
So a simple Squarespace one-pager is better than nothing. All right, so the next part, the equipment. This is where everybody gets
Lost.
Everybody thinks it's way more expensive than it is. Anybody that wants to look at the Facebook live feed that is on the Sweat Equity page, it is you could really do a pretty good system. I think mine altogether 4 years ago was like $500. I think it's even cheaper now. So don't get a USB mic if you ever look at those. Some of these are tips for other people. You're probably going to use this stuff, but
For now.
yeah. And then you'll grow, and then you'll go out into the wild. I used a USB mic. The problem with those is I thought they're called snowballs. I thought those were awesome but they sucked all the power out of your laptop or desktop, so you couldn't have more than 2 mics. A lot of lost podcasts that way, and couldn't figure it out. And fuck that company because they never told me why that was going on. So, fuck you, Blue Snowball mics, Blue microphones. So if you go on Musician's Friend, this is the site I was told to go to, and it's pretty dope because it's got
I'm gonna write that down.
It's got new and used equipment on there. So people obsess about mics. These mics come in a 4-pack, and they were I think I got it on sale, and it was like $80. So and then I didn't even look at the used part. You get some mic cords. I do the color-coded ones so I can tell who's who. When there's 4 people on mics, it's kind of hard sometimes.
Right.
And sometimes I have to mess with the levels while we're doing it. I don't really do that because
Synthesize.
you're a pro now.
I'm a pro.
These mic stands, like these tabletop ones, those are like $5 a pop, maybe 10. The arm style, I used to have to hack IKEA lamps to make as mic holders with a vise on the table. But now you can get them on Amazon for I think $20 or under that. Might even be like 12. So this stuff is getting so crazy cheap. Mic cords are you can get a pack for, I don't know, $20-$30. you can get a pack of 4 or 5. So we're already good there, right?
It's like Target. We're just kind of mentally shopping.
If I get some gumption, I'll put the whole list on this blog post when we post the episode. And then the mixer. So I use a mixer. It's got 4 inputs. You can, after 4, I think it gets really expensive for good mixers. You don't need a fancy one. You just need one that, I got a Behringer. I don't know. It's German.
Behringer.
Is it Behringer?
Behringer.
Like Tom Behringer?
Like, yes, Tom Behringer.
Okay. It's a 1204 USB mixer. And the deal with that one is it's a USB plug-in, not like a USB mic. So that's a big difference. This is getting real nerdy. I'm going to try to make it funnier.
Input, output, all these.
Yeah, and then I'll take a picture of what the knobs look like, because that was another whole thing. I don't know anything about audio. I'm sure anybody that likes real good audio hates this show. But I didn't know what any of those knobs meant. You really can't look it up in a simple way. Everything's like super complicated. It's either these audio nerds that are fucking crazy out of their mind, like way too technical, or you have to look up like the installation guide stuff that is the same thing.
Who has time for that?
Who's got the time? Well, podcasters. Usually.
Podcasters do have the time, because you've got 3 hours a week. And so if you only spend 5 minutes prepping mentally,
yep,
you got 55 minutes to go ahead and research.
Yeah. Well, no, there's always a big setup to everything you're doing, right? So that, like, getting all this stuff down, everything you do for the first time sucks. So doing your own podcast.
Well aware.
Oh, yeah, right. Even, this is a bit I'm working on, but even getting your first BJ is, like, terrifying. Because you're like, oh, how long should this be? Like, I don't know.
No one knows what's going on.
Do I tap on the shoulder? Is that polite? Is it I don't know. Like, what do we do? Do I say thank you afterwards? Do I have to call? It's not a family show. And so I kept that clean.
It was clean.
Yeah.
It was clean.
PG-13.
I kept that clean.
I kept it clean. Like my rims. So so that's all the equipment you really need. You don't need that much. You need a space to do it in that people are like, hey, what are you doing, bro? Like, you can doing it at your house. A lot of people try to do that. And, like, you can just hear, like, shit clanging around and, like, neighbors and the apartment that shares a wall. So, like, find a spot
your neighbor playing violin through the extra thin walls.
Yeah, man. It's like, I hear podcasts like that sometimes, and I'm like, I can't listen to that. It's too distracting.
Right.
So try to find a space that's quiet. Luckily, I have this office, and part of the reason I wanted it was to have a conference room / podcast studio.
How about finding the entrance music?
So I don't know the.
Did you pay for that?
No, I don't know the copyright stuff with that. It's usually kind of Wild West about that. Like, I'm sure you get a cease and desist. If they try to sue us,
ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
Well, if they try to sue us, it's going to go to the Scar City Comedy LLC. That's what the show's under, technically. So, you can have the negative comedy money that's in there in that bank account, and then we'll just dissolve it. But typically, for this one, I had my former co-host come in, and he just was like, "Can we use this jam?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I like it. It has some pickup. You know, I like I do the radio style of bringing in the show, where I do the hottie toddy, and then you can cut quick clips, intro, outro, pretty simple.
Right.
So it depends what you want. With the college football podcast, I love my favorite genre of music is 80s background with new rapper on it.
Right.
So it's
new age.
I don't even know what the song is called. It's like a mixtape one. So it's like I can't even find it now. If I went on iTunes, I tried to get like a cleaner version.
That's what SoundCloud's for.
It might not be on there. I don't know. It's a little obscure.
A lot of crap on there.
Oh, it's not on Spotify. I know that. So it's like Pat Benatar with Rick Ross and Lil Wayne.
That can't be cool.
Oh, it's awesome. How dare you?
How dare you?
So intro, outro music, that kind of fits college football a little bit better, I think.
Right.
It's a little sillier. It's a little party-ish. This was a little rock to get you fired up, I guess.
So fired up about business.
We didn't put a lot of. I didn't put a lot of thought into it. I was more worried. I was worried about like booking good guests. So
Right.
from what I've been told, like getting bigger name guests will help you kind of get your numbers up, other than your friends and family trying to push it out.
Right.
Trying to share it for you, because that's where a lot of the meat, the center of what you're doing. That email blast, friends and family, try to get them. If you feel confident enough, try to get them. Hey, can you share that out? You don't have to be cheesy about it, but
assuming the content's good.
Yeah. I'm at the point where I feel confident with this podcast that I'm happy to tell anybody about it. Before I was like, we're kind of working the kinks out, so I'm going to keep this one a little mum.
Kind of getting there.
What else? Okay, so software. So you need a decent computer. Some people can do iPad. I know you can do that. So depends which way you want to go. The setup I've got a decent laptop. It's 2014 MacBook that I need to upgrade. And then the software, the other software you need is GarageBand for Mac. For Windows, most people use Adobe Audition. I don't know how to use that. It was so confusing when I opened it. I was
You're
like,
already
fuck this
overwhelming
forever.
me.
Well, you can see GarageBand right here on the other screen.
Right.
So it's
that I can handle.
So the reason I like it is because it's super simple, you know. So, and then you can export it immediately after we're done. So it's a time thing too. Like I just want to be able to like, okay, we just did this. Boom. Here's the file.
Well, you're over it by that point.
Mm-hmm.
You just talk for an hour.
Yeah.
So
And then
hopefully about some pretty compelling things.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else I missed.
We got our
be consistent.
consistency.
I've fucked up, so we're gonna do this as a bonus episode this week because I didn't do one last week. So we have one up as of yesterday. This one's gonna go out today because I want to repent. I want to make up for the episode I didn't do.
Right.
And
so you had Samantha on yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Social Alchemy.
Yeah, we talked about how God, I hate people that call themselves gurus. Like, so I'm a social media guru, right? It like your balls kind of go back up.
I feel like it's okay to call someone else that, but not to refer to yourself as that. It's like just saying that you're good at something.
I'll tolerate that. Yeah, because you can't help what people call you.
Sure. And if that's a word that they feel is like synonymous with being an expert.
Right. I just hate that. I don't know. Online
Could you say
ads
expert?
Guru, PPC guru. I don't know.
Where are those people?
I've been introduced as that, and I'm like, whoa, but I don't like get like mad heartburn, that vomity kind of heartburn, like
back starts to hurt.
Yeah, like is the wind changing? What's going on?
Well, it is. It as you said, a blistering cold. It's breeze.
I love it.
Tampa never let us down.
So, any other questions? I feel like we covered a good amount, and I did a lot of talking again.
Well, you're the expert here.
Yeah.
You're the guru, quote unquote, with at least the tech savvy. We can go on more about the why, the content, but that's, I mean, pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it helps to compartmentalize. Like, there's the technical aspect. There's
definitely the consistency with anything, though, is obviously key, because you can't just be all over the place. There has to be some structure and an outline in place.
Well, it's the listenership. So once you start getting people subscribing, they look for it after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then
there's an expectation there.
Unless you're like a Rogan who's getting like the best guests ever and he's one of the top podcasts, because he can just put it out whenever he wants.
Yeah. Well, then you can create little one-offs.
So like if you're doing
and run it off of the original podcast.
So another division is like if you're doing like sports or something news related, that you kind of have to do it in real time. Like when we do the college football one, we have to immediately push it out. This I could bank for next Thursday to pop out.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I want to repent. I'm going to have Steve Fantetti, power attorney, on Sunday.
The power attorney.
Power business attorney.
Mhm.
He's going to bring the power.
Bringing the heat. I'm gonna look for that.
All right, you can come. It'll be.
It's Sunday though, man. We gotta recharge the batteries.
Oh, your weekends are precious.
Just give me one day.
Okay.
One day to shut it off.
I agree. I need to pull back on that.
Mhm.
6 days of going ham.
That's it. 6 and then one day of rest. You're good.
That's what God wanted.
That's what He wanted.
It was in the Bible, the King James Bible.
Can't argue with that.
So that consistency, like podcast listeners, you'll find out like it's weird. It's really intimate. You're in people's earbuds. It's not like radio.
No.
They're not putting it on in the background a lot of the time. And so
it's very intentional.
Yeah, and it has this different kind of relationship, I feel like, where we don't have a lot of listeners, but the listeners we do have, like, it's 500 to 1,000 an episode right now. I need to do some marketing work on this. But part of that is, like, the 90% of them listen, like, really intently, even though
the diehards.
They're doing passive activities, like doing laundry or jogging or whatever.
Cooking, anything.
Yeah.
Something you don't have to think about a whole lot.
That's kind of, I have podcasts in obsessively because it's just like there's so much stuff driving.
It'll be on my drive home, and I'll walk in the house and just start preparing for tomorrow, but it's still going.
Yeah.
So it'll stay on for like another 2-3 hours.
I find the softer NPR ones I listen to go to sleep because I don't really care about them that much.
Gorgeous.
You know, like This American Life I used
Soothing
to love.
sounds of NPR.
Yeah. And then
don't forget to donate.
The government's not going to do it. So.
Whatever.
You
keep going political, man. I'm trying to avoid
man.
this.
What?
Nothing.
Well, this is real life, bro.
I don't want to be confrontational.
It's real talk. So that's the other part. It's authentic, right? You have to stay authentic. If you're real button up and formal,
you gotta stay real.
And you're trying to put on an act, it's gonna wear out. Like it'll eventually you can't handle that after a while, especially when it's like, you know, you're doing this all on your own. So I always break this up into like the producer side, the marketer side, right? The actual talent. And if you can break those 3 parts up in your brain, it kind of helps a lot. Compartmentalizing it.
Right.
So, I don't know. Any other?
No. Just all the noun and verb just
You having a stroke?
Same usage, I know.
No, yeah, so it's again, separate yourself from the herd. I really think figuring out video and how to do this correctly is going to be it's going to be more and more. As much as people bitch about it, there are more and more people like, Facebook Live, blah. But it's like the Facebook Live stuff that's on your feed is like, you know, some kids getting a haircut. Like it's not, you know, like it's not good content. So if
you can turn off notifications.
Oh, I do, but
right.
Most people. I'm saying what I get bitched to from people,
right?
Because I'm a guru. I'm not your guru.
There you go again.
I'm a girthy guru. Alliteration.
It's a whole lot.
And so people bitch about their news feed. I'm like, you know, you can filter that, right? Like you don't have to see.
Yeah.
Mine's probably down to like 70 people out of 3,000. Like, because. A lot of it's not good.
Hey, any attention is attention. So
okay, all right.
Go ahead and take a positive spin on it.
Wow. All right. Any attention is attention.
Any publicity is good publicity.
I think we're running out of steam. All right.
We're hitting the tap out button.
No other questions, man?
Me, no, I'm good. I'm fired up. We're gonna rocket launch May 1st.
All right.
And then you're gonna.
I'm going to hold you to it.
You're going to rocket studio / dad bod.
Yeah.
Reversal.
I'll be here.
Within 90 days.
Let's schedule it. As soon as we get off, we'll schedule that out because I'll forget.
You got those phones going off anyway, so we're going to go ahead and write that down.
All righty. Thanks for listening.
You're crazy.